Hi, this talk is Effects of Emotional Expressiveness on Voice Chatbot Interactions from Qingxiang Zhu, myself, Austin Cho, Michelle Cohn, Kaihui Liang, Haoquan Wang, Georgia Zelu, Zhou Yu from UC Davis and Columbia University. Today, I will be taking you through two experiments we did to assess the role of emotional expressiveness on the chatbot system. I will start first with some background. Speech-based conversational user interfaces are increasingly common, such as Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant, and so on. Developers can create custom interactions on voice assistant platforms, controlling the word choice, dialogue flow, voice type, as well as how the text-to-speech voices are produced. In this paper, we ask, does the way a QI conveys emotion affect interaction? Emotional expressiveness is a fundamental part of human-human interaction to convey their attitude about a particular piece of information and to convey empathy. People use emotionally expressive facial expressions, but also in their prosodic patterns or the melody of speech. Speakers produce a higher pitch, wider pitch range, and increased intensity. And people use words that signal their emotional state, such as wonderful. But the effect of emotional expressiveness on human chatbot interaction is unclear. On the one hand, there is some prior work showing positive effects of voice assistant and robot emotion. For instance, previous work from Cohn et al. Found introducing emotionally expressive interjections increases users and external readers' positive ratings of a non-task-oriented social chatbot system. Additionally, previous work from Rosenthal demonstrated that humans are able to interpret human-like effective nonverbal behavior in robot. The emotion conveyed by the robot increased perceived intimacy, positive affect, and self-disclosure. Taken together, these findings suggest that people perceive emotion from computers in similar ways as expressions of emotion displayed by humans. This possibility is in line with predictions from the computers are social actors theory. On the other hand, others have shown a detrimental effect of emotion. Previous work from Tingwell and colleagues found an increased intensity of articulation increased perceptions of uncanniness for avatars characters expressing happiness with an exaggeration of mouth movement. Additionally, perception of strangeness was positively correlated with exaggerating facial expression. Taken together, these findings could be driven by an uncanniness. The presence of mismatched cues lead to an uncanniness response. So, coming back to our research question, does the way the QI conveys emotion affect the interaction? Does emotion increase engagement, how participants rate the bot in terms of how human-like and how likable? One step further, does it mediate the relationship between how human-like and likable? Is there an anthropophilia function or uncanniness response? To test these questions, we designed and implemented a dialogue system and designed ways to convey relative low and high emotional expressiveness. We implemented a rule-based voice chatbot by adapting Amazon Alexa social chatbot in the music domain. The chatbot is able to interact with the users about music genre, musicians, their favorite songs, and their experience with playing instruments. Here is a short snippet of the human chatbot interaction.
Do you have a favorite singer?
I really like James Bay and Hozier.
Aha! What do you think sets James Bay apart from other artists?
Due to the time limit, we stop here. The dialogue flow of our chatbot is shown in the slide. More details are included in the paper. We manipulated emotional expressiveness in the acknowledgement part of the system's production to consistently control the structure and content across users. To hold TTS type constant, here on neural TTS, we wrapped all utterances in an excited low like this.
I'm playing a single hand in what looks like a losing game.
Then we wrap the acknowledgement in excited high to reflect a relative increase.
I'm playing a single hand in what looks like a losing game.
we selected emotionally less and more expressive words from the NRC VAD dataset. We can see examples of more expressive or positive on the left, and the baseline phrasing on the right. Remember, this is for an acknowledgement of the user's utterance. So, starting with experiment 1, a total of 50 participants from UC Davis joined the study. All participants are American English speakers. We designed a factorial between subjects user study with 4 versions, fully crossing the emotional prosody and emotional words conditions. Each participant was randomly assigned to one of the 4 conditions, and each participant completed a single conversation with a chatbot. The study is conducted under at-home setting. Participants were given instructions for setting up the system, then engaged with the chatbot on an Alexa-enabled device. After the conversation, participants were asked to report how engaging they thought the conversation was, as well as how emotionally expressive, human-like, and likable the chatbot was. To conduct user ratings analysis, each of the 4 user ratings were centered such that neutral is equal to 0. We modeled each rating with separate linear regression models using R, with the effects of prosody and word condition, as well as their interaction. So, what did we find? Here is a plot for how emotionally expressive participants rated the Alexa. On the y-axis is a rating, here from 0 to 100. 100 means most expressive. On the x-axis are the prosody and word emotion conditions. We see effects of word and prosody condition. Both increase perceived emotional expressiveness. Although prosody and word condition have independent effects, no interaction effect was observed. We didn't find any statistically significant effects in the engagement, human likeness, or likability models. Since we also care about whether emotional expressiveness shape an uncanniness or anthropophilia response in human chatbot interaction, we modeled likability by human likeness score. We tested whether this was mediated by prosody or word condition as well. So here are the results. On the y-axis, we have likability rating, and on the x-axis, human likeness rating. The 2 plots show word condition, expressive word on the left, less expressive words, baseline on the right. Prosody condition is shown by the color line, more expressive in orange, less in blue. We see just one effect, a positive correlation, where the more human-like, the more likable, but no difference by prosody or word condition. But there are still some open questions. First, prosody and word emotion was a between subjects design. Then each interaction unfolded uniquely. Therefore, we conducted a second perception study using a within subject design. The second experiment was conducted on users who didn't directly interact with the chatbot, but only observed someone else interacting with the chatbot. It simulates the situation that multi-party interaction happened. The stimuli consisted of 10 conversation snippets from the first experiment. Each snippet has 5 turn utterances, where the human side are replaced by 5 human talkers recording to hold the user portion constant across each condition. The system side utterances are synthesized using Alexa TTS to cover all emotional expressive conditions. Stimuli consisted of 2 prosody and 2 word conditions, aligned with experiment 1. For example, I will play the expressive prosody and expressive word.
Do you have a favorite singer?
I really like James Bay and Hozier.
That's great. You have a good taste. What do you think sets James Bay apart from other artists?
A total of 56 participants completed the study. Participants completed the study from home by Qualtrics. The study is a within subject study, where each participant listened all 4 conditions for one conversational excerpt. The conversations are randomly presented. After they heard each conversation, participants made ratings, how engaged the user sounded, and then emotional expressiveness, likability, and human likeness of the system. We modeled participants' ratings in 4 separate linear mixed effects models. So there are 4 plots. On the y-axis are the listeners' rating for the 4 categories: engagement, expressiveness, human likeness, and likability, and the 4 conditions on the x-axis. As you can see, both emotionally expressive prosody and words were associated with higher ratings of how engaged the user was in the conversation. In the other matrix, referring to the Alexa voice, there was only an effect of prosody condition, more emotionally expressive, human-like, and likable with the expressive prosody, but no effect of word condition. Similar to the first interaction experiment, we also tested whether emotional expressiveness shapes an anthrophilic or uncanniness response for third-party listeners. The model reviewed an effect of human likeness rating, where more human-like ratings were associated with higher likability ratings for the voice. We observed an interaction between human likeness rating and prosody condition, with a steeper increase for human likeness rating if the chatbot produced emotionally expressive prosody in an acknowledgement. We can see that by the steeper orange line here. While it looks like there is a 3-way interaction with word condition, this was not significant in the model. Let's have a discussion. So coming back to our main research question, does the way the cooee conveys emotion affect the interaction? Here, the answer is yes, but it varies. In 2-way communication, when participants directly engaged with the chatbot, we saw that both word and prosody conditions increased how emotionally expressive they perceived the Alexa to be, but no interaction. However, no effects of word or prosody emotion on the other ratings. We also see an effect of anthrophilia, where the more human-like they rated the Alexa, the more likable they rated it. But this was not mediated by the emotion conditions. For experiment 2, the multi-party scenario, where the participant was overhearing the reconstructed conversations, both prosody and word conditions had an effect on how engaged the user sounded. And the other ratings about the Alexa voice were also shaped by the prosody conditions. The Alexa was rated as more human-like, likable, and expressive when it used more expressive prosody, but no effect of word condition. As in experiment 1, we see an effect of anthrophilia, and this effect was mediated by the prosody condition. We can draw some implications from the study. First, a cooee engaged in the multi-party communication scenario might target emotional expressiveness in the TTS prosody, if given a choice between prosody and lexical choice. Then, at the same time, using more emotionally expressive words is another avenue to improve emotionality for a user directly engaged in a 2-way interaction, particularly if the prosody of the TTS output is not a technically or socially feasible parameter to manipulate. Finally, we reflect on the limitations of the current study and possible future directions. First, the system focused on the domain of music, which limits the scope of what the participants can talk about. Future work expanding the conversational domain could increase the generalizability of the observed effects. In addition, due to COVID-19, in-person data collection was not possible for the study. Future in-lab studies can better control the experimental setup. Additionally, this study focused on a single positive emotion. Future studies can examine other types of emotions, such as sadness and fearfulness, and the role they might play in the chatbot interaction. We also observed only users' rating of interaction. Future work examining more kinds of behaviors, such as how users respond to an error made by the chatbot system, can reveal if more nuanced behaviors are at play in the user study. Thanks to our funding sources, and thank you for your attention.